buenas tardes a todos. Os damos la bienvenida a este webinar. En primer lugar, me gustaría presentar a los invitados de este evento. En primer lugar, quisiera presentar al profesor Daniele Paragano. Es profesor especializado en Economía y Política en la Universidad 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗯𝗲 de Roma. Realizó un doctorado en Geopolítica, Geoeconomía y Geoestrategia en la Universidad de Trieste. Ha sido profesor visitante en varias universidades europeas, entre las que cabría destacar Newcastle, la Universidad de Grenoble, Alpes, Unicorn College en Praga o la Universidad de Valence. Ha realizado un abundante número de publicaciones en campos de la geografía militar, la marginalización de espacios urbanos o estudios de paisaje. A continuación, también me gustaría introducir a otro colega geógrafo, Antonio Gavira, que es profesor de geografía de esta casa y ha realizado una abundante producción científica sobre la geografía de los transportes y más concretamente sobre la movilidad sostenible y la ordenación del territorio local y regional. Por último, quisiera presentar a un servidor, Javier López, que también soy profesor de geografía de esta universidad. A continuación, os presento la ponencia que va a presentar Daniele. Se titula El papel del geógrafo profesional y docente en Italia. En ella, nuestro profesor invitado nos explica cuál es la perspectiva de un geógrafo profesionalmente y también académicamente en Italia. Sin más, le cedo la palabra para que inicie su presentación. So, anytime you like, please, Daniele, you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Javier, for this presentation, and it's very great pleasure for me to be here in this webinar. And I like to start my presentation now, and okay, it's here. And this is a very interesting point of our activity as geographers, and to start my presentation, I want to use this maybe this answer that a journalist gave on the newspaper in the section of the letter about a question regarding the use of geography and maybe the role of geography, something like this. And as how you can say in this presentation, this phrase is useful because give us some information, some feedback, some idea about how geography is maybe is part of the social knowledge of a country, especially in Italy. What people that are not geographers think about geography and think about the use of geography. And this is important for our presentation because it's part of the system that move around geography. And this system, we see later, is connected to the education system. So this presentation is mainly divided in three parts. We start with the space and the role that geography have in the education system, Italian educational system, especially in the secondary school, and the role of geographers and their geography in the society, and as we introduced before, the idea of geography in the mass culture. When Javier and Antonio asked me to speak about this situation, about the geography in the secondary school in Italy, I supposed to discuss about a drama. But when I prepare this slide and this presentation, I was sure that we are in a very bad situation for geography. Why it's a bad situation for geography? Because in the last maybe 10 years or more than 10 years, the Italian education system, especially for the secondary school, create a very huge reduction of geography. A reduction of the importance of geography in terms of hours and in terms of teachers, relation with the other studies, with other disciplines. Reduction of the importance of the geography in the secondary school. I just put in this slide and in this other slide, which is the situation in the secondary school in Italy for geography. And as you can see, in very few schools there is geography, and in a lot of schools we have just, such as in the technology, is a secondary school more addressed to, as the name say, to the technologies. They have only just 1 hour in 5 years. I don't know how it's possible to teach something 1 hour for a course. But anyway, also in the other kind of schools, there is very, very few hours dedicated to geography. And according with the previous slide, I just want to focus about these problems regarding the teaching of geography. The first is the few hours dedicated to geography. And you study geography, the field of geography is very huge and concentrated in few hours. It's mean that you don't have the possibility to explore the concept of geography, and you don't dedicate time to analyze the topics. The second important point is the creation of this, I call strange subject, geohistory. Because geohistory exists in terms of specialization, and also some courses like yours include geography and history, but create a subject, the only subject in a school. We match geography and history and dedicate to this few hours probably do not allow to the student possibility to have a good background in geography and a good background in history, because we know geographers and historians have different background, different methods, different frameworks. Geography is more focused on the actuality than history, and history maybe is important for geography, but at a different perspective. So it's very complicated to consider one subject. It's useful for sure for students, for all of us, to know history and to know geography, and also for geographers, especially for political geographers, or for some who study geopolitics, or maybe scholars about economic geography also. It's important to have a very strong background in history, because we know our past, we can better analyze our present. But in the secondary school, maybe can create some difficulties to mesh this part. But the main problem is not the subject itself. It is who can teach this subject. Because there is one person, one professor, which teach geohistory, and usually, also because we see later, they come from historical background, from different background than geographers. And sometimes they don't have the degree in geography or the PhD in geography. Also myself, I don't have the degree in geography, but I have the PhD. So they are not specialized in geography. So for this reason, it's important to look at the background of the teachers, because it's the way in which they can teach the subject. Everyone's have different approach, and this approach comes from our background. So I think that this is the main problems related to the secondary school and the role of geography in the secondary school. Why it's important to be focusing on the secondary school? Because it's important part of the educational process. In the secondary school, all of us define better which field match our interest, which field we want to continue in the university, PhD, and so on. So it's important to have a clear and complete knowledge of the different subjects. And in this context, probably not all the students can know exactly which are the possibility that geography have and geographers have. Which geography? Because it's another important part of the approach to geography. Because we know we are geographers, so we know that there are different approaches, different methods, and especially in the last period with the critical approach, with the post-structuralist approach, and so on, an idea of geography more related to the social activities, to the role of communication, technology, and so on. But often in the school, even if we look at the textbook, the approach is very traditional, we can say. So students receive a lot of information, notions. They know the name of the capital cities, or maybe the name of the rivers, so on. But it's difficult to have a clear and complete idea. Also because sometimes the teachers don't have the strong background to know exactly which can be the possibility of geography. Because, and we can take in mind the first slide, in the mass culture, geography is this kind of geography, a set of notions, a set of information, and less an approach, a way to analyze the social activities, a perspective. And maybe if students don't have all the information about the possibility of geographical approach, probably they don't feel, they are not stimulated to continue to study geography. What's happening in the university? In the university, the situation is not better because the bachelor degree dedicated only to geography are maybe 2 in this academic year. Only 2 universities have a dedicated bachelor degree in geography, and few have the master degree in geographical science. This is maybe the evolution, probably, of what's happening in the secondary school. So, young students do not have the possibility to know exactly geography, and they don't have too many degrees in geography. And in this slide, and we don't have time today to analyze all the points, but I just check some information about the activities that students who gain the degree in these 3 years have today in their profession and their activity. So I just take time. If you want to look better with the data, maybe we can discuss about it in the question time. But I want just to focus some point that first students of geography make jobs in which the bachelor, the degree, is not necessary. It's not necessary, and sometimes it's not requested. So that they don't need to have the bachelor for the master degree for their job. And also, they don't have the complete possibility to use the competencies, the skills in the university. It's mean probably that the job they do is not related to geography. And at the same time, it's important because maybe it probably is part of the common background that when someone finishes university, the first jobs are not maybe totally related to the skills. But if we look also after 5 or 6 years, we see the situation is not good. It's not good at all. So it's probably mean that in the society there is a few spaces for geographers. For geographers as a role of geography. And there is a long debate in Italy to have a professional activity or to create a formal register, and I don't want to dedicate too much time to this. But the main problem is that in the social idea, there is no space for geography. There's no space for geography because the idea of geography probably is not too much clear. And sometimes some other disciplines do what geographers can do. I work a lot also in urban studies. In urban studies, there is a very important role, especially in planning of architects, planners, and it's difficult to find maybe some project which ask for a geographer. And this is maybe I know it's a very complicated slide, but it's a way to express the complicated situation. Because I once, when the colleague, with the colleague, we debate about the topics of the seminar, of the webinar, and we decide for this topic. My idea was to expand the topic from the secondary school to the society, because all parts are very, very related. Because in the society, there is a very few knowledge about what geography is. For this reason, I start with the letter to the newspaper, because it's an example of the few knowledge about all possibility of geography knowledge. And for this reason, sometimes, often, we can read a newspaper on a public debate. Yes, but geography is not important. We have Google Maps, or we have satellite system. Why we have to know the places or the name of the places? But because geographers do not know the name of the places. It's not geography knowledge, the name of the capital city, as you know. But in this framework, create difficulties for the occupational role. It's difficult to have a specific role for geographers if outside the geography they don't know exactly what we can do. And maybe from the same reason, it's easy to reduce the space of geography in the school. There is no maybe social debate related to this problem. Because if we ask to the community if they agree to reduce the space for geography, they say, okay, it's not important. And obviously, if we have a few degree, if we have a few role for geography in the education system, we reduce the competencies, we reduce the knowledge, and we reduce the possibility to have in the future a different situation. Because if we have few hours and teacher that comes from different fields, it's difficult to create passion to this discipline, and indifferent to create geographers. And if someone have the idea to do it, unfortunately, it's very difficult, because geographers knows, or people who we appreciate geography, knows that there is a few degrees. There is few possibilities to work with this degree. And maybe, probably this reduce the number of students in geography. I call this slide a vicious circle, because we can do exactly which is the start of this situation. because it's a system. Everything is related. There is not a starting point, because probably is the few space in the education system, but it's at the same time the cause and the effect of the reduction of geography in the society. At the same time, we can say, okay, we have to increase the role of geographer in the society, but how we can do? Because geographers are not too much. So, for this reason, I'd like to conclude with this chaotic slide, because I think it expresses the situation in Italy. I don't know if it's only in Italy, but in my experience, I know other education system, other culture. I spend a lot of time, for example, in UK, and there the situation is different for geographers, but also because geographers can be involved in the work activities as geographers, because this is an important point. It's not only just important to be included in the work activity, but to work as geographers, not as other jobs. And sorry, I go very fast because time is not too much. I just want to give you some points of this critical situation, useful, I hope, to know a little bit about the Italian situation. We just opened our windows on the Italian situation in terms of geography, and at the same time to propose some points of discussion and reflection about the situation of geography, not only in Italy. Oh, this is the slide in English, of course. And I close my presentation, and we can use the time for your question. Very interesting to question about these topics and this proposal. I leave here my email if some of you wants to contact me to discuss about this topic, or maybe to discuss about geography. I'm open and happy and delighted to receive email and maybe to share experience with you. And in the conclusion, let me thanks again the University Isabel I to guest me in space, to give me the opportunity to share my experience with you and to have this feedback, to have this webinar. The colleague Javier López and Antonio to works a lot to organize this webinar, and all of you for your attention. Thank you again.
Muy bien. Tomo la palabra. Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. Thank you very much for letting us know how is the situation of a geographer in Italy. And we also are grateful for you for your presence in this webinar, and also for everything that you have done to do this presentation. Le agradezco a Daniele su interesante presentación y bueno, el esfuerzo que ha hecho después de realizar esta presentación y de venir como profesor invitado y explicarnos esta interesante exposición de cuál es la situación de los geógrafos en Italia. Sin más, le doy la palabra a Antonio Gavira. No sé si hay alguna cuestión o alguna consulta. ¿No te importa formularla?
Buenas tardes, Javier y Daniele. Daros las gracias, sobre todo, principalmente a Daniel por la exposición que ha realizado. La verdad que están surgiendo varias dudas ahora mismo en YouTube. Una de ellas nos la realiza una persona que ha estado viendo durante todo este tiempo la conferencia. Se llama Francisco y pregunta si un graduado en geografía tendría posibilidades laborales en Italia al tener una formación específica. No sé si lo puede orientar.
Sí. Daniele, the audience is asking you if a graduate in Italy has any chance to work as a geographer. What is your opinion about that?
Okay, thank you for the question. And yes, there is a possibility. There is a possibility in some fields, for example, in the university, for example, in the research, in the academic system in general. So there is possibility. Unfortunately, there is not too much possibility compared to other disciplines. And sometimes there is a few possibility in the private sector. There is more space in the public, especially in the university, even if the situation in the university is not optimal in terms of the possibility, but anyway, we have some possibility. But in the private sector is more difficult.
More difficult. I'm gonna translate your answer. Pues nada, comenta Daniele que efectivamente no es que sea imposible ni mucho menos, que en el sector, todo lo que está relacionado con el ámbito académico, pues sí que hay posibilidades, aunque claro, nunca es, no son especialmente abundantes, ¿no? Pero sí que hay la posibilidad de integrarse como investigador, pues en un departamento, más o menos, pues como puede ocurrir a lo mejor en España, pero que efectivamente en el sector privado está mucho más restringido y es bastante más complicado.
Sorry, Javier.
Sí.
To work as geographers, because
trabajar como geógrafo, claro.
Because they have possibility to work, but sometimes they have to do works not exactly thinked for geography.
Claro, o sea que no es un trabajo que tenga el título, doesn't have the title geographer, sino, claro, puede trabajar, obviamente. Digamos que la geografía te habilita para trabajar en muchas cosas, pero digamos que con el título específico de geografía, pues en el sector privado, pues no es especialmente amplio, ¿no? En el caso de Italia. En el caso de España, creo que más o menos, me atrevería a decir, I don't know what you think in Italy, me atrevería a decir, I would say that in Spain, especially anything concerned to GIS and most possibilities. Bueno, ahí también, o sea, que todo lo relacionado con los GIS. ¿Alguna otra consulta, Antonio?
Quería hacer otra consulta que ha realizado Francisco. Está relacionada de si existen actualmente software libre de sistema de información geográfica que estén en italiano o que hayan sido realizados en Italia. Creo que es lo que quiere más o menos exponer.
Vale. Do I translate it? Does it exist any free software, freeware of GIS made by Italians or in Italy by scientists of Italy or programmers? Italian programmers?
Especially made by Italians or maybe Italian university or something like this, I think no. We use in terms of GIS, free GIS, common such as QGIS, for example, but I think it's the same that you can use in Spain because it's international open source GIS. And in terms of open source, probably is the most used GIS.
Bueno, tengo que añadir, I'm going to answer one thing. Tengo que añadir que sí que yo he visto algunos programadores italianos que aportan algunas aplicaciones específicas para QGIS, por ejemplo, ¿no? Pero Efectivamente, lo que contesta Daniele, ¿no? O sea, que ellos utilizan 𝗨𝗏𝗃, que puede haber alguna universidad específica que haga algo, pero en general, pues el software libre por excelencia es 𝗨𝗏𝗃, que efectivamente se usa tanto en Italia como en España como en el resto del mundo, ¿no? Son dos grandes softwares, 𝗨𝗏𝗃 y luego 𝗨𝗏𝗃, entre los software libres quizá el más amplio, el que más posibilidades tiene. No sé si hay alguna otra consulta.
Por YouTube ahora mismo no hay ninguna consulta nueva. Yo
Sí.
quería realizar una última pregunta que está relacionado con mi presente y mi pasado, tanto que he participado en el Colegio de Geógrafos de Andalucía como en la Asociación Española de Geografía, es principalmente consultar si existe algún tipo de movimiento asociativo de los geógrafos en Italia, de algún tipo.
Okay. Bueno, Antonio has one question about associations. If is there, he wanted to ask if is there any association of geography whose concern is to protect professionals of geography and disseminate knowledge and, you know, raise awareness about geography. Does it exist as anything? Which is its role in this problem issue you are?
We have association. We have association as geographers. We have three most important association of geographers, and one especially dedicated for the teachers, so the geography teachers. So we have this organization. The role is to try to break the vicious circle, to improve the knowledge, improve their role in the society, and sustain the role of geographers. We do as geographers in terms of association, and they maybe they are very active in the school also with presentation and something like this. And we do as geographers also in the university, and try to maybe present ourselves as geographers. But the main problem now is out of the community of geographers, because in the society there is a few knowledge of geographers, and also this organization, this community is little compared to other association of other fields, because we are not much in Italy as geographers, and they do a good job. They organize a lot of activities, seminars. Probably also in Spain you have these activities, the geography of night, with the so-called third mission of university, the dissemination. We do it, and they, especially as geographers, do it, but it's an hard job.
But there's nothing regarding to professional. So what I understood is the association is more concerned about the academics of geography than to in the introduction of geographers in the market, in the work market, no? Labor market, right?
Yes, relating to the market, the labor market, there is maybe few possibilities to create the connection and possibility.
Muy bien, thank you very much. Bueno, traduciendo un resumen de la amplia respuesta de Daniele, como dice que digamos que está especialmente concentrada en el ámbito de lo académico, es decir, claro que existe, digamos, asociaciones de profesores de geografía, pero digamos que está muy restringido al ámbito académico y menos, que es lo que yo le preguntaba antes, al profesional, es decir, asistir a los alumnos o por lo menos favorecer, ¿no?, que la figura del profesional, ¿no?, de geografía pues encuentre un lugar o un hueco en el mercado laboral. Algo no muy distinto, no sé cuál es tu impresión, Antonio, creo que aquí más o menos es algo parecido. Salvando quizá algunas distancias, pero bueno, en fin. Yo no sé si hay alguna otra cuestión.
Una última pregunta que nos vuelven a realizar de YouTube. No es una
Venga.
pregunta, pero le he dado una orientación que se acerca a una pregunta.
Vale.
Nuestro Francisco, que estaba ahora mismo viendo esta exposición, nos comenta relacionado con GVC, que es un software español, y nos comenta que es un software muy utilizado que está en español. Y mi pregunta es si GVC es muy usado en Italia.
Ajá. Okay. Another person in the audience. No, it's the same person. ¿No? Es el mismo. Is the same person who asked before. He's asking that he's saying that we have GIS, free GIS, used in Spain quite often and widely used, which is called GVSIG, GVC in Spanish. So he was asking whether you use or have knowledge about that software, GIS software in Italy. Or do you just...
Maybe probably some colleagues knows, but personally I don't know this software and this. No, I haven't used and no.
Claro.
But maybe
Nada,
some colleagues works
claro.
much more related to JS probably knows. But in my experience, I don't have opportunity to meet. But I want to try to know is it better.
Ok. Bueno, la respuesta creo que ha sido muy evidente en inglés, pero bueno, un breve resumen, pues no, en principio él no tiene conocimiento de ello y que tal vez algún colega especializado pueda tener algún conocimiento y que le parece muy bien la idea de, por si acaso, pues ver, ¿no? Experimentar con ese programa que seguro que efectivamente tiene aspectos muy interesantes, ¿no? Bueno, pues no sé si hay alguna otra cuestión, Antonio.
Daros las gracias, principalmente.
Muy bien.
A ambos.
Pues nada, gracias a ti, a la audiencia que han tenido la paciencia y que nos han escuchado hasta este momento, y agradecer también a vosotros vuestra presencia, a Daniele, a Antonio y a todos los compañeros de la universidad que han colaborado en la realización de este webinar. Sin más, os doy la despedida y muchas gracias a todos.